Greetings, students. Kat here. Welcome to week 5. This is a packed week. I'm going to supplement chapter 5 with a lot of information for you, and it involves 4 different intro videos, this one and 3 other very short ones, and then 2 videos for you to watch on the language experience approach. So basically your assignments this week are reading chapter 5, watching a whole bunch of videos, and then participating in the discussion and writing in your journal. I'm going to take myself out of the picture here. Let's get started. To develop reading and writing skills, there's a lot that goes on. And the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, what type of literacy are we going to be talking about? Primarily, we're probably talking about document literacy, making sense of the printed word. But there are other literacies in the literacy spectrum. There's the numeracy literacy, to be able to do even some remedial kind of mathematics. And now, obviously, we have technology literacy that goes way beyond just knowing your way around a computer. But let's focus on document literacy for now. Reading involves a lot of skills that we developed from early childhood. Our letters, being able to connect the letters to sounds, words, vocabulary, our sight word knowledge, silent and oral reading. Silent reading is where we get comprehension. Oral reading is where we practiced our pronunciation, the rhythm and intonation, and reading the punctuation. And that is a skill that many adult learners need to be explicitly taught, is how to read the punctuation so that they read with expression. And then we have read different types of documents, right? Brochures, pamphlets, books, novels, newspapers, reports, that type of thing. Our writing skills, we learned to form our letters, and then we developed the mechanics of writing with spelling and grammar and punctuation and syntax. And as we matured, our word choice and richness and clarity of expression got better. And then, of course, we have read for very different purposes, right? So the elements of reading and writing in English, we've had to use our left to right orientation. We've had to be able to form the letters and words and sentences and paragraphs and essays, getting bigger and bigger. 3 important words to keep in mind: recoding, which is recognizing a word; decoding, which is putting meaning to the word. So is it the pronoun I, or is it the word I that represents my optical organ? And encoding is spelling. So there's a lot going on, and then we're expected to comprehend. Reading requires huge cognitive processes, and there's a lot we can do to help our students become efficient readers. One way is the language experience approach, and I'm not going to focus on it today. There are 2 videos for you to watch on this, as well as read the description in Parrish, and then we're going to discuss LEA. It's a very powerful tool. I love it. I've had great fun with this, and so have the students. But for some teachers, it takes some easing into. I'm going to look at some basics. Last week, when we were talking about listening and speaking skills, we never really talked about the real basic building blocks, and those are the sounds of the language, what we call phonemes, the distinct units of sound. And when we're talking about the literacy skills, then we're talking about graphemes. The graphemes are the smallest meaningful contrastive unit in a writing system. And keep in mind, that's more than the 26 letters of the alphabet. It can be our consonant blends like TH and SH, and our vowel teams. I'm going to focus on top-down versus bottom-up strategies. Parrish touches on it, and we're going to get much deeper in it here. Top-down strategies draw upon our world knowledge, and this is where the whole language approach came from. It's still around today. My kids were educated in the whole language approach era, but the bottom-up strategies were really popular in the 60s and 70s, and this is where we developed language knowledge. This is the phonics approach, the hooked on phonics. I used 2 key resources when I was doing my research in these 2 approaches. I first found it in Parrish when I was taking this class, actually. And then I read this book, English L2 Reading, Getting to the Bottom by Barbara Birch, and it's a really good book. It's headier than Parrish, but it is packed with good information. So what Parrish says about these two approaches, you're going to read on page 134, where she says that whole language provides meaningful and relevant material, but it has its drawbacks. It doesn't provide those basic building blocks of reading, that letter sound recognition. But then on the same page, she says phonics does not encourage readers to make meaning of what they're reading or to use contextual clues, predicting, or other top-down holistic practices that are all used by efficient readers. So both of these approaches have their problems. What does Birch say? She says pretty much the same thing. With the bottom-up approach, there is so much emphasis on those building blocks, the letter recognition and word identification, that there's not enough comprehension strategy going on. And it leaves the student with a poor priority of strategies. In other words, they're not efficient readers. With the whole language approach, there's so much emphasis on comprehension that the building blocks are missing. And so again, we're leaving the students with a poor priority of strategies. Do we have to get a referee for this? If both of these approaches have problems, then what are we to do? Which one should we use? Let's look at what really happens in our brains when we're reading. When we engage with text, we are actually using both our top-down processing strategies and our bottom-up language processing strategies at the same time. We have to have both of them developed. But the truth is, you can't have well-developed top-down strategies if you don't have good bottom-up foundation. So the trick is to find a balance. And that's what we're going to try to do. You will probably encounter students who have gaps in their literacy. And some of the stuff I'm going to show you is developed for very low ESL, but it can be adapted for just about any level of English language learner. So how do we move to the top-down strategies from the bottom? Well, we're going to begin with auditory perception, moving up to auditory discrimination. So they need to be able to hear the sounds as part of a word, but then they also need to hear the difference in the sounds, the difference between P and F, for example. Grapheme to phoneme linkage, being able to identify the letters to the sound correlation, discriminating letters and words, writing letters and words, and then eventually reading and writing words, phrases, sentences, books, novels, you name it. In D2L, for your toolkit, there are 3 charts, and then there's a short video for each of these charts for you to watch. Print these charts and bring these to class on Saturday because we're going to do an activity with them. These come from Birch. Birch identifies these 3 areas where you can make a powerful difference in building bottom-up strategies. The first one is the consonant names and sound extension lessons. On each of these charts, you begin with the skills that the student needs to be able to master. And here we start with the lowest strategy at the top because this is where you start. And you gradually move down the list and upwards in cognitive ability into reading and writing in context. On the right are activity ideas on how you can help students practice these individual skills for that particular area. The second chart is words and pattern with vowel sound extension lessons. Here are the skills, and here is what you're going to develop, beginning with the bottom, right? Going down the list to the higher thinking strategies, and then these are the activities. And finally, sight word extension lessons. Sight words require reading, so we're going to begin with the visual recognition this time. Here are the skills. We're going to move up in cognitive abilities to reading and writing practice. So download those and copy them and bring them to class. When you're teaching low-level students, you can help them reinforce their independent practice by having them keep word cards or vocabulary cards to take home and practice with. I've put 2 samples of these in D2L for you to download for your toolkit with instructions on how to use each one. Another thing we can do is help students organize their notebooks so that they get used to that left-right orientation. The most recent notes go in the back, so that when they are looking for information, they're going sequentially from the left to the right. Keep in mind, you might be teaching the basics, so have lots of good strategies and techniques in your toolkit, including the portable writing board. So this is simply a piece of manuscript paper inside one of those sheet protectors with a vis-a-vis marker, just like your mouth chart that I gave you last week. Some good practices: activating schema, creating interest to establish a purpose for reading or for writing, pre-reading and pre-writing strategies, comprehension checks, silent reading while listening, a very, very powerful practice, and connecting the written word with the spoken word. One good pre-reading strategy is to use pictures and picture sequences. When you use pictures, it helps you establish the context and the students start getting interested quickly. You can add an element of mystery. Students can predict on what the story is going to be about, and they can vote on their prediction, and it's keeping them engaged. This is scaffolded because they've got the picture, they're establishing their schema, they're getting interested, and then they can talk about the story, they can listen to the story, they can read it and listen to it, they can sequence the pictures. Lots of ways you can scaffold reading. And here's an example. So this is developing reading through high interest stories, mystery, and lots of scaffolding. What I'm using is a story out of Easy True Stories by Sandra Hayer, and it's called There's Something in the Mattress. Students are given this picture and the title, and they're asked to talk about it with a partner. And what can they say about the picture? And you get all kinds of things, including, why is there a knife in the mattress? Why did they cut the mattress open? There's something in the mattress. So right away, I've established the mystery, and they've talked about it, and now they're interested. The next thing we do is we give them picture sequences that they can arrange in any way they think the story goes. And they get lots of time to do that. They can do it individually or with a partner. And then I start reading the story to them, and they start sequencing these pictures according to what they hear. So eventually, after having heard this story multiple times, they begin to get the story. A husband and wife are going to bed one night, but the wife says to her husband, I think there's something in the mattress, something's moving. And he says, no, there's nothing in the mattress. Let's go to sleep. So they do. But then the wife wakes up and tells her husband, hey, there's something in the mattress. And the husband says, in picture 5, there's nothing in this mattress. It's a brand new mattress. Go back to sleep. So she goes back to sleep. But then the husband wakes up and he says, there's something moving in the mattress. We have to get a knife and we need to open this mattress. And that's all the students hear. I don't finish the story for them. Their task is to guess what's in the mattress. And here's some examples of what classes have provided as their guesses. A mouse, water, a bird, a snake, a rat, a lizard, the family cat, and cockroaches. And then the class votes, and we just see what people think is the right answer. And after that, then I read the story to them, but this time with the big reveal, and they get the final picture where they find out that there was a snake in the mattress. So by scaffolding this, they got lots of times to hear the story. By the time they read it, they went into that reading with a lot of comprehension. In D2L, in the resources folder, there is this resource, the Go-To Strategies Matrix, with ideas on scaffolding all 4 language skills. It's a big document, but look for this matrix. There are actually some really good ideas there. Let's look ahead. We've got class on the 23rd with your icebreaker demonstrations, and we will revisit LEA. You're going to participate in some demonstrations for listening, speaking, and reading and writing, and we'll prepare for our week on lesson planning. These are the resources for today. There is a reflection in D2L. I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to say thank you and go watch those other videos. Bye-bye.